The palace never truly sleeps. Even in the smallest hours, the corridors hum softly with the language of flame. Candles breathe their waxy light along the tapestries, each flicker revealing faces that have seen too much beauty to trust it. You walk through that hush, the air thick with perfume and secrets. The Queen of France is awake again, they whisper, and tonight she asks for warmth, not prayer. You pass through velvet curtains heavy as confession. The chamber beyond smells of roses, iron, and the faint sharpness of wine. A single window stands open to the moon, though no wind dares enter. The Queen sits at her mirror, the candlelight softening the sharp perfection of her face. She does not look old, but she does not look alive either, more like a portrait still drying. The servants move around her as carefully as moths around fire. She speaks little, her voice hushed by ritual. In this age, every monarch is both ruler and relic, their flesh a symbol of divine order. To fade is to lose more than beauty, it is to lose authority. And so the Queen's night routines have turned into ceremonies. Her maids prepare tinctures of pearl dust and honey, rub them into her hands until the skin gleams like marble. They bring bowls of rosewater, of milk, of stranger things whispered about but never named aloud. You stand among them, a servant with eyes trained downward. You hear the slow rhythm of her breath, the sigh of silk, the drip of melted wax. No one looks directly at the bowls. The Queen's alchemist claims that certain substances restore vitality, that the essence of youth can be absorbed through the skin if one's faith or desperation is pure enough. The line between medicine and magic blurs easily when the mirror becomes a judge. She leans forward, examining her reflection. A shadow beneath one eye sends a ripple through the room. She touches it lightly, then turns away as if it has insulted her. You sense the shift in air, the scent of fear disguised as lavender. Aging here is not natural. It is treason against the image of perfection that holds the kingdom together. Outside, peasants with calloused hands grow old in sunlight. Inside, a queen fights time by candlelight. The royal physician enters, his boots silent on the carpet. He carries small glass phials that glint like captured stars. They contain concoctions of mercury and crushed jewels, of herbs once sacred to pagan gods. He bows low, murmurs of vitality, balance and humours. You've heard the rumours he studied under Italian masters who claim the body can drink youth from youth itself. The Queen listens, eyes half closed, the way believers listen to confession. As the physician departs, servants exchange uneasy glances. One drops a ribbon, another spills oil onto the tiles. You notice the Queen's hands trembling slightly before she folds them into her lap. Her rings catch the light like tiny suns. "Bring me the crimson tincture," she whispers at last. The phrase is code now. Nobody speaks the plain words. The crimson tincture is always ready, sealed beneath linen, rumoured to hold life itself, or the illusion of it. You fetch the vessel from its hiding place behind the mirror. The glass is cool, heavy, and opaque. The Queen touches it as one might touch a relic, reverent and terrified. "It is a gift from heaven," she says, though her voice wavers. In truth, heaven has long since stopped sending gifts. Only alchemists and courtiers do that now, their faith paid in gold. She pours a measure into a silver basin. The surface glints darkly, swallowing the candlelight whole. The air stills. No one moves. You smell rose and iron again, so faint you might have imagined it. She dips her hands delicately, as though touching eternity itself. The gesture is slow, almost prayerful. The basin trembles. Ripples distort her reflection. For a heartbeat, she looks young, truly young. Then the light shifts, and it's gone. Only the room remembers. Afterward, her attendants dry her hands with embroidered cloths. They will burn the cloths later. As always, the Queen reclines against cushions, her face calm but eyes fever-bright. The mirror, cleaned and polished, shows nothing unusual, just a woman convincing herself she's won. Outside, the first bird of dawn cries, and the candles flicker as if embarrassed to be seen. By morning she will emerge radiant. Courtiers will gasp politely. Poets will compare her to Venus, and ambassadors will write home about her impossible youth. None will mention the scent of roses that lingers too long, or the quiet panic in her pupils. You'll watch from the shadows, knowing that beneath the silks and powders lies the truth that keeps her beautiful and sleepless. Later, as you snuff the final candle, you glance once more at the mirror. The surface seems to breathe, wax and shadow playing tricks. But you could swear you see movement, faint and red, like memory. You tell yourself it's nothing. In this palace, everything beautiful hides something it cannot admit. You step into the corridor, carrying the empty basin wrapped in cloth. Behind the door, silence swells, dense as perfume. Somewhere in that silence, the queen dreams she is immortal. Somewhere beyond it, time smiles and waits. Morning comes late in the palace. The sun has to climb over 100 chimneys before its light ever reaches your window. When it finally does, it filters through gauze curtains thick with rose dust and ash from last night's candles. The air smells sweet, but not clean, more like wilted flowers pressed inside a closed book. You sit upright in a bed the size of a small ship, the silk sheets cold, the scent of lavender clinging to them like a ghost. Outside, church bells toll, slow and indifferent. The city below yawns awake. Inside your rooms, it is always twilight. Servants glide in, quiet as moths. They open perfume caskets, replace melted candles, fan the embers in the hearth until orange breath returns to the coals. The ritual is wordless. Each girl knows her task by heart. One brushes your hair, long, heavy, dark as wine. Another sets the silver tray with ambergris soap and distilled rose water. They do not look you in the eye. No one in this palace looks too closely at the queen. Curiosity, here is a dangerous luxury. You lift the small mirror beside the bed and study your reflection. Last night's candlelight has faded from your skin, leaving only pallor. The faint blue of veins blooms along your wrist like delicate ink. You tell yourself it's nothing. Winter's chill, perhaps. The court physician said as much. Yet something inside you whispers otherwise. You dab perfume along your throat, the scent sharp enough to make your eyes water. Beneath it lingers another odor, metallic and faint. You tell yourself it's the silver tray. Beyond the door, life stirs. Footsteps, laughter, the scurry of pages. The palace breathes in a rhythm you can feel through the marble floor. You rise slowly, every movement deliberate, as if grace might disguise fatigue. Your dressing chamber waits, an altar of glass and fabric. Racks of gowns shimmer in shades of cream and gold. Jewels lie arranged like small planets around a sun. Yet the first thing you reach for is not silk, but a vial. Inside, thick crimson perfume catches the light. It is called eau de jeunesse. The alchemist swore it would keep your skin forever unblemished. You remember his trembling hands as he offered it. You remember how the color stained his cuffs. You open the vial, and the scent floods the room. Heavy, sweet, and oddly warm. A memory stirs fields at dusk. The hum of insects, the pulse beneath your own skin. You pour a few drops into a basin of water. Steam rises, veiling your reflection. Behind you, one maid coughs and quickly bows. Another opens a window, pretending not to shiver. The perfume is too strong for them, perhaps. You, however, find it soothing. When you breathe it in, your heart slows and the morning anxiety softens into calm. Later, as you walk through the hall of mirrors toward the council chamber, the courtiers bow. They speak your name with reverence, but their eyes dart quickly to one another. Rumors travel faster than sunlight in this palace. They say you never eat in public. They say your rooms smell of iron and roses. They say the physician visits at midnight carrying covered basins. You glide past them all, every step echoing against marble, your perfume leaving a trail that lingers after you've gone. At the council table, ministers argue about taxes, roads, the cost of war. You hear them, but distantly. Their voices dissolve into the hum that fills your head. What truly worries you is the reflection in the polished silver cup beside your hand. It shows you as you are, serene, poised, untouchable. But behind that face you glimpse something else. Fatigue, the shimmer of unease. For a moment you feel as if the reflection might move on its own. You blink, and the illusion is gone. When the meeting ends, you return to your chamber, to your candles, your perfumes, your silence. Outside, the court buzzes with gossip, like flies around fruit. Inside, the air grows heavy again. You close the door, exhale, and let the scent of roses fill your lungs. Somewhere in the corner, the covered basin waits, gleaming, innocent, patient. The palace has many languages, and most of them are whispers. They live in corridors, crawl along the carved banisters, and hide beneath the marble echoes of your steps. By midday, the air itself seems to gossip. You walk slower now, not out of age, but caution. Every bow hides a question, every curtsy, a rumor. The perfume that once made courtiers sigh now makes them trade glances. They say its scent lingers, even when you are gone, like a ghost rehearsing your presence. In the great gallery, sunlight splashes through colored glass, scattering rubies and sapphires across the floor. Pages sweep the tiles, trying to erase yesterday's footsteps. At the far end, a cluster of noble women pauses their embroidery to stare as you pass. Their smiles are small knives wrapped in lace. You hear one of them whisper a single word, sorcière witch. It drifts across the room like dust, landing softly, almost affectionately, before burrowing under your skin. That evening you summon the court musician. You ask him to play something slow, something that sounds like forgetting. The notes slide through the chamber, thin and silver, but they cannot drown the voices in the walls. Somewhere a maid laughs too loudly. Somewhere a door shuts too quickly. The perfume on your wrists feels heavier tonight, as if aware of its own reputation. You wonder if beauty can rot, if admiration, once soured, smells different. In the hallway beyond your room, the servants whisper their own liturgy. They speak of a chamber no one enters after dark, of locked chests and covered basins. They swear they have seen crimson stains blooming on discarded cloths. The head chambermaid, older and cautious, silences them with a look. The queen is blessed, she says. The color comes from roses, but even she lights an extra candle before bed. Outside, the city begins to gossip too. Vendors in the marketplace tell stories to fill the space between sales. They claim the queen has found a way to cheat time. They say her mirrors lie. Her heart beats slower than any mortal's. Her skin is proof that sin can be distilled and bottled. Each telling grows richer, darker, and more entertaining. The people need their myths. You, it seems, have become one. Meanwhile, your physician grows nervous. He brings new tonics, milk of almonds, tincture of gold, syrup of poppies, anything that smells less suspicious. When he bows, you can see sweat on his temples. He avoids your eyes. He has heard the same rumors, perhaps from his own apprentices. Still, he stays. Curiosity can be stronger than fear. You thank him softly and dismiss him with a smile that promises discretion. Night deepens again. You return to the mirror, to the faithful twin who never contradicts. Candle paints your reflection in bronze and honey. For a moment you look as young as you once were. Then the flame flickers and the illusion trembles. You trace a line beneath your eye. The skin feels fragile like paper. The thought rises unbidden. Perhaps the price of beauty is not what people imagine. Perhaps it is simply loneliness, repeated nightly. Behind you the maids whisper prayers as they fold the linens. One drops a towel, the sound startles everyone. You turn gently and thank them for their care. Your voice is calm, musical, practiced. Still they look at you as if expecting thunder. You realize then that power is not shouted. It is whispered, the way they whisper now. When they leave, you sit alone, listening to the echo of their footsteps fade into stone. The palace settles around you, old wood sighing, chandeliers trembling slightly in the night air. Outside, a storm gathers beyond the sign. You breathe in the perfume one more time, and watch the lightning find your reflection in the mirror. For a heartbeat, the flash makes you look eternal. Then it fades and you are only human again. Night has a sound in the palace. It hums like bees caught behind glass, the echo of fires shrinking in distant rooms. You sit beside your mirror again, the surface clouded by candle smoke. Outside, thunder rolls across the sunsow, like the turning of a great key. The air tastes of metal and rain. You do not expect visitors at this hour, so when a soft knock breaks the hush, your pulse lifts, not in fear but recognition. The door opens, just enough to admit a sliver of gold light and the stooped figure of your alchemist. He bows deeply, hat pressed to his chest, eyes lowered. Age and sleeplessness have carved him thin. In his hands he carries a small casket, bound with brass hinges. "Majesty," he murmurs, "I come at your command." You had not summoned him, yet something in you decides not to correct the mistake. Perhaps the palace itself has willed this meeting. He sets the box upon the table. The candlelight catches the dust on its lid, turning it into stars. "The formula is changed," he says, voice trembling. "The old method was imperfect. This will be gentler." He unlatches the casket, revealing vials lined like miniature organs, each glowing a different hue: saffron, rose, ivory, a muted crimson like faded silk. You study them, fascinated, not by what they are but by how beautiful fear can look when it is contained in glass. The alchemist hesitates before continuing. "There are those," he whispers, "who ask questions I cannot answer. They think I've made something unholy. I tell them it is perfume, nothing more. But words do not quiet suspicion." His gaze drifts toward the mirror, where both your reflections waver. "Majesty, may I speak plainly?" You nod. He exhales, the candle flickering with him. "If beauty can be bottled, it will always demand a price. Every elixir draws its strength from something else's fading." You rest your hand upon the table. The wood feels alive beneath your palm, humming with the echo of storms outside. "And you ask, what did you give to make this?" His smile is faint, almost kind. "Time, Majesty. Mine, not yours." He looks older under the candlelight, decades older than this morning. You realize the hands that made your elixirs tremble, not from guilt but exhaustion. He has spent his own years so that yours might appear untouched. Silence pools between you. Somewhere down the corridor, a clock strikes once. He closes the casket gently, as if sealing away a confession. "I beg you," he says, "use the milder draughts. The stronger ones change more than complexion." His words hang like incense, heavy and fragrant. You could dismiss him, have done so to bolder men, but instead you find yourself saying softly, "Leave it here." After he bows and withdraws, the chamber feels colder. You open the window. Rain has begun, steady and thin. The scent of wet stone mingles with the perfume rising from the box. You lift one vial, the rose-colored one, and hold it against the lightning. Inside, the liquid glows like a captured dawn. You think of what he said about exchange, about beauty and cost. Perhaps all kings and queens trade something unseen: youth for peace, conscience for legacy, warmth for wonder. You place the vial back and close the lid. The brass clasp clicks like the closing of a heartbeat. Outside, thunder rolls again. You can almost feel the palace listening. Somewhere, far below, the kitchens clatter with early morning preparations, unaware that history has just shifted slightly above them. You blow out the last candle and watch the smoke rise, curling into shapes that almost look like words. For a moment you imagine they are prayers: his, yours, the world's. The mirror catches the faintest glimmer of dawn. In it you see not a witch nor a saint, but a woman waiting for morning, uncertain which face will greet her when the light finally arrives. Dawn creeps into the palace like a cautious guest. You wake before the bells, long before the courtiers, to a silence that feels newly washed by rain. The air is cool, smelling faintly of wet stone and extinguished candles. The box remains on the table, where the alchemist left it. You study its brass corners, the faint fingerprints smudged into the wood, proof that something human still clings to your miracle. Outside, the palace stirs. You hear servants calling, doors opening, the rustle of brooms against marble. Life resumes its routine, but something invisible has shifted, like a key turned in the lock of history. You open the window and look down into the courtyard. Rainwater has pooled between the cobblestones, reflecting the grey sky. You see your own face rippling there. Perfect, transient, unreal. You think of the alchemist's tired eyes and his quiet warning that beauty borrows its breath from time. The queen must appear unshaken. You summon your attendants. They dress you in the pale silk that makes your skin gleam like porcelain, pin rubies into your hair, brush a veil of powder across your cheeks. When the mirror returns your reflection, it shows no trace of sleeplessness, only composure. You smile at it the way one smiles at a child they no longer understand. At breakfast, courtiers line the hall like painted saints. They speak softly, their glances sharper than cutlery. A nobleman from Provence bows too deeply. You can feel the rumor trembling in his spine. They say the alchemist fled before dawn. They say he carried nothing but ashes. They say you wept, or prayed, or laughed. Every version is truer than the truth. You raise your cup and drink as though the gossip were wine you yourself had poured. Later in the gardens, children chase each other through wet grass. Their laughter lifts through the windows, bright and careless. You envy them, their ignorance of mirrors, their joy in becoming rather than remaining. A petal falls onto your hand. For a moment you mistake it for a drop of color returning to your flesh. The illusion startles you, then amuses you. Even the garden conspires in the game of youth. Afternoon brings the ambassador from a far kingdom. He kneels and offers compliments rehearsed during the journey. Your Majesty defies the calendar, he says. Time is loyal only to you. You thank him, but his words feel hollow now, like echoes that have learned to flatter themselves. When he departs, you glance toward the window where the storm light once flashed. The clouds are gone. The sky looks ordinary again, and that ordinariness feels like mercy. Evening descends quietly. The court retires, the servants dim the lamps. Alone again, you open the casket one last time. The vials gleam, innocent as jewels. You do not touch them. Instead, you lift the brass latch and leave the lid ajar, as though releasing a captured breath. Beneath code, the air of the room changes. Lighter, cleaner. Perhaps the secret has finally found its own escape. 003052. You take the mirror from the table and turn it face down. The gesture feels simple, human, and final. Outside, the bells begin to ring for evening mass. Somewhere in the city, a storyteller begins your legend anew. The queen who never aged, the miracle that cost her nothing or everything. You realize the story will survive you no matter which version they tell. 003053. 003118. You step to the balcony. The horizon glows with the last trace of sun, painting the river in molten gold. A breeze rises, carrying the scent of rain and roses, real roses, blooming, dying, returning. You breathe it in and let it go. For the first time, the perfume on your skin smells only of air.